Good evening. Welcome to Graveyard Theater. I am Laszlo, and of course we got a special guest for you tonight, and his name is Bob Wilkins. Hey Bob, welcome to Graveyard Theater.
Hey, glad to be here.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
I guess you guys are out there wondering who Bob Wilkins is. Who's Bob Wilkins? Well, Bob Wilkins he's an actual horror host from Sacramento, California. Is that correct?
And the Bay Area.
And the Bay Area.
Which is San Francisco.
San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And he's actually in town here to visit our show. And we got a lot to talk about. We can basically do an interview with Bob tonight. And we're going to be rolling in some clips of stuff that Bob has brought for us tonight. But first of all, Bob, let's start off with a little history about Bob. I have some notes, so bear with me. First of all, Bob, I know you did a show called, I guess it's called Creature Features, and you were on 3 different stations. Can you tell us a little bit about the 3 stations you were on and how it progressed?
Yeah, when by the way, I want the audience to know that this is an honor for me because I grew up here in Hammond.
Yes, in fact, he's a Hammond resident,
That's
folks.
right.
He used to live here in Hammond.
Went to Kenwood and
oh, really?
And
it's great.
Washington High and then Hammond High.
Oh, wow.
And eventually, after going to college, I left the area and went out to California.
Oh, you went to California.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was 1959.
59?
59,
Wow.
way back there, way back there.
Wow.
And I went to work for a television station in Sacramento, California.
KCRA,
KCRA,
Channel 3.
right. Channel 3, an NBC station.
Sacramento.
And my job was writing and producing commercials for local retailers.
Local retailer.
And at a television station, you have a lot of going away parties and a lot of presentations and things like that. Wow. And the 2 owners, who were very young guys, one guy was younger than I was, the Kelly brothers, they thought, I guess, that I had a sense of humor. And they offered me a late night show on television there. They had a package of horror movies and science fiction movies.
Wow.
And that's where it all started in Sacramento.
Wow.
From there, it was very successful, and I also did a show in the Bay Area, Channel 2, a Cox station. There.
KXTL Channel 40?
Yeah, that 40 came after 3.
Okay, so it's KTVU
Yeah, I
Channel
moved around a little bit, but eventually worked for 4 different stations over, I think it was a 13 or 14-year period.
So you've been doing this about 14 or 15 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, you worked for all these stations. Were generally everything the same, or was each different production different from the various stations?
Well, there were differences in the production, but the basic format is that I would introduce a movie, and I'll tell you how that came about. I did not dress up like a ghoul or a monster.
You were just yourself?
That's right.
Okay.
And most of the time, when the movies were bad, I would tell the people not to watch them.
Don't watch like we do. Don't watch our crummy films, folks.
And that seemed to be unique in its time. And we filled, but we always had special guests. We had a lot of, in California, a lot of entertainers are there and stuff. And you name it, if they were horror or science fiction, or sometimes in related areas, we had them on the air.
So tell me, what famous guests have you had on your show? Give us a list of maybe 10.
Well, we had all of the Star Trek people.
The original Star Trek?
The original, yeah.
Okay, like Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner?
Yeah. Okay. They dropped by the station not once, but many times.
Oh, okay.
Especially when they were coming out with the movie.
Like George Takei, he was on your show a couple times.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we had all of the Star Wars people.
Oh, wow. Star Wars, that's good.
Yeah.
Really? Did you have Mark Hamill on your show?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah. And what you call it, the main star.
Darth Vader. No?
Darth
Leia?
Yeah. Vader came from England and was on the show several times.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
You have Princess Leia?
David Prowse.
Oh, David Prowse, yeah.
Yeah.
Princess Leia? Also?
All of them.
All of them? Kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So it was a wonderful opportunity for anyone who was a horror or science fiction fan to really tune in the show.
So you had a lot of famous people on your show.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee, folks, he had on his show on an interview. Can you believe this? Somebody I wish I could interview.
We had, for instance, Ray Harryhausen came on the show.
Ray Harryhausen. Wow.
with Catherine Grant, who is Bing Crosby's wife, and Kerwin Matthews.
Right.
They were together in, what was the name of that movie? I'll think of it in a minute. It goes way back. It was a Harryhausen film.
Now, didn't you have, I believe, Forrest J. Ackerman was on your show?
He came on many times because he would fly up from Los Angeles, and he had a lot of wonderful stories about Bela Lugosi and also Boris Karloff, and just stories that only he knew.
Right.
In fact, he bought a lot of Bela Lugosi's the cape and all that, the ring he used to wear and things like that.
Tell me, you familiar with a lot of the horror magazines that's out there? Scary Monsters, Famous Monsters of Filmland, all these horror magazines that's out there.
Right.
For instance, in case you guys can see, we got a lot of stuff sitting in front of us. Here's a magazine called Scary Monsters Magazine, folks. He did a big article on horror host here in local areas and other towns and other cities. I know you didn't get a chance to see this, but what do you think of this magazine and your comments on these type of magazines? What do you think of horror coming back as much as it has?
Well, I think that publications like this, and I was looking at this before we went on this evening, this is an excellent magazine.
That? Yeah, he does a really nice job. Dennis Turkani's publishing.
And he's a local fellow?
He's a
too?
local guy, yeah.
I mean, it's great.
Isn't it nice?
That's a first-rate color.
Isn't it?
Cover if we could.
He has an artist, Terry Beatty, who does the artwork for the magazine. Who actually does these are actual paintings, and then he prints them up on the magazine.
Well, it's big time. I mean,
isn't it? Really nice job.
Yeah, great.
I tell you, besides this, which is this magazine here, we have some good stuff here. First of all, let's go through some of this. Are you familiar with the Universal movies, obviously, like Frankenstein, The Ghost of Frankenstein, and all these movies?
Yes.
These are actual film scripts which were re-released in magazines. I don't know if you folks at home can see these. These are the actual script. The full script is in this magazine. You can read everything that they read when they were making this movie. So how do you feel with all the nostalgic of horror hosting and nostalgic horror content, the interest in it in this day and age?
Well, I think it's always been there, and with the advent of, when all the movies were bought out by what's the millionaire there?
Oh, you mean Ted Turner?
Ted Turner, I understand, bought out all of the major film packages.
He bought almost everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
So because he has a national coverage with his station, Turner Broadcasting.
Right.
It's impossible for local stations in the market now to play these films.
Well, we have the problem of getting films because, like you said, folks, you do have to go through copyrights to get some of these crummy movies, which Ted Turner owns, and unfortunately, we have to deal either with public domain or self-produced films in local areas or abroad or wherever. Back in the day when Bob was doing this in the 70s and the 60s, horror movies came in packages. Now, what happens is when a TV station gets a movie package, they rent the package for, say, a certain amount of 6 months. So they have 6 months or so to run these movies before the time is up and they can't run them anymore. That's why when Bob did his show called Creature Features in Sacramento, he had a lot of movies to work with because they got a vast amount of packages. Is that correct?
Right.
Like nowadays, what we're doing, we have to get them from where. Well, what do you think? Do you think in horror hosting, you think things have changed so much since then? In your opinion, in your view of horror hosting, do you think that they kind of lost on this great art of horror hosting?
Well, I think it's potentially still there. I mean, you folks put on a nice show, and it can be done. But I think that it hurts a show when you can't show the old classics and you can't show the latest stuff and science fiction films and things like that.
Unfortunately, you're right about that.
But I think everything eventually turns around and
recycles year after year sometime.
Perhaps Turner will maybe sell the horror package or let go of it, not renew it, and somebody could pick it up.
Unfortunately, I think he bought them for his film collection where they're stored, where he releases them to major stations. How many people are familiar with Joe Bob Briggs that does TNT Monster Vision? Well, he works for Turner.com. That's how he can run all these movies.
Oh, I see.
And that's how it works.
Yeah.
That's why Joe Bob Briggs has got the focus of just these particular movies because he gets them through Ted Turner through Turner.com. But like as far as shows like ours, it's a disappearing art form. There's not many people out there doing what we do here on Graveyard Theater. There's several hosts. There's a local host here in Chicago that does it. There's a couple other hosts in other cities like Ohio and one other in Florida, I think. And they have the same problems we do of getting movie packages and films. But what interests me the most is, Bob, I know you did your show for about 15 years, and I do have some general questions I'd like to ask you. First of all, I want to ask you, did you ever have any contests on your shows? Any special contests where kids could write in or call in or anything like that to win something or appear on the show?
Oh, yeah, I tell you what we had early on. This is even the late 60s and early 70s. One of the first times I did the show, all of a sudden I got 5 or 6 8mm movies shot by kids, okay? And I looked at some of them, and my God, they were really well done. I didn't know that was going on out there. There was a fellow in Stockton, California. Every year he had a film festival in the theaters, and the theater would be packed. So we used to give prizes and awards and show these amateur films on the air.
Let me ask you this: Did they send these to you by bulk mail? You'd get these like every week, or was it sporadic?
They came in on a regular basis. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
And today, I get email letters and things of that nature
off your webpage
from kids who are now work for Spielberg, DreamWorks. Disney.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and they thank me for having their film years ago showing here, you know, and it's great to.
It's nice to give something back after all that time.
Well, you know, it gave a good feeling to me that somewhere along the line the show helped them get involved.
Let me ask you this: I know recently somebody did a book, a scrapbook, in fact.
That's right.
I don't know if you folks can see this. It's a scrapbook that was done on Bob Wilkins of a lot of pictures. There are people that appeared on his show. Can I ask you, on this particular book, now you've actually done a lot of broadcasting in your years. Now, I know these books just came out, right?
Yeah.
And they're on your website. Incidentally, let's take a minute for that. Folks, if you guys would like to get this book, before we talk about it, you can get it. If you pull up Graveyard Theater's website, which is now on the bottom of the screen, and I don't know if you guys can see this, you could come into our site and you could jump into the Horror Host webpage from our site, which will take you right to the list of Horror Host pages. Look up Bob Wilkins, click on, and you'll come to a webpage that has this book, that they offer this book for sale. So if you guys would like to get this, just come into our site, jump from our site to the Horror Host main page, pull it up, look up Bob Wilkins, and you'll be able to get this terrific scrapbook done by Bob Wilkins and Creature Feature. And the guy that put this together, he did a beautiful job. And so, Bob, how long has this been out, and what do you think of it?
It's just been out about 6 months, and all the fans seem to like it.
This is really terrific. It's got some great interviews. I mean, you've met a lot of different people.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, it's just incredible, the people you've met. Ackerman, Harryhausen, the works.
Yep.
How does that make you feel to be associated with such biggies like that?
Well, you know,
business?
I saw the power of television when we had somebody contact these people, and they were happy to come on. And
it's fantastic.
And I think Buster Crabbe came from Arizona to be on the show.
Now, Buster Crabbe is from Flash Gordon series. He played the blonde guy. What was his name?
Yeah.
I can't think of his name. He played the blonde guy that, you know, was always chasing, what's his name, down. I can't think of his name, but I can't think of it.
I mean, and he grew up in Oakland, so it was a homecoming for him to come to the Oakland station. And you know, I interviewed a lot of people who weren't in horror at all, like Jimmy Stewart and people like that in Hollywood, and we would play this on the show. You know, just at a break, everything wasn't just science fiction and horror.
What about the production of your show? I mean, how long did it take you to shoot a show, and crew members? How big a show was it? Can you give us a little inside information on that?
Yeah. We had, it doesn't take a real big crew. I would say that your crew here is about the same size as we had. We had two
Crew members are about 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had 2 cameras. We had, you know, a switchboard control staff back there, audio man. We did have floor people cueing you, things like that.
Such and such.
But the set was very small and compact.
Which was
similar
built
to
by the actual station built your set, right?
Yes, right.
Which is what you talked about
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty neat. So
And I don't think ours was as well done as yours, really.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you. You like
yeah.
what you see. I'm
No,
glad.
this is very nice.
Yeah, we worked real hard on this. This took us roughly a week to build the set, and the props and coffin and such. Several weeks after that, we accumulated that
Yeah.
stuff. We wanted to give it a realism feel to it, so we kind of set out to make it look that way, that particular way. You have any funny cruise stories? Some things the crew's done that was kind of funny to you?
Well,
Curiosity.
I think once in a while they would have somebody walk on from somewhere, maybe the janitor, and
didn't know where they were from.
have him take a seat, you know, while I'm
Right.
talking to them. You know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
funny.
the guy would put his microphone on, and
Oh, that's pretty funny.
but I seem to handle most of the things. But they had fun with the show.
I know you know a lot of producers and a lot of people out in California that you've worked with. Like I said, Graveyard Theater is looking to expand. We're looking to go in syndication somewhere that would like to air our shows. And we're going to be staying in touch with Bob through the months, and I'll be giving him material to pass on to people that he might know that might be able to help us. So maybe we'll get syndicated in other areas. But I know, Bob, you worked with several producers. You've worked with several, you know, a lot of people in the industry from California. And we want to thank you for that, for helping us out.
Oh, great! If there's any way to have this show anywhere, why I'd be happy to.
I'll tell you,
yeah.
we'd love to be syndicated for everybody to see what
Yeah.
a real, truly genuine, bringing that back feel type of horror hosting.
Yeah,
We're-
the audience is certainly out there. We know that.
Oh, yes, they are. They're definitely out there. Did you keep any props or any special mementos from your sets?
You know, I have some artwork that used to be used. They shot into slides for breaks. Some of it is
in, yeah, it's in that
captured in the book there. And I've got a lot of the things that are in the scrapbook have been reprinted. I have a lot of that. I have all the original stuff at
Original
home.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
So you never really kept like the skull candle that was used
No,
on the table?
I'll tell you what we had. We had an auction. I announced the last show on Saturday, and then Sunday, a shop in San Francisco opened up, which is not normally there.
Wow.
And the people were just lined up down the street. I couldn't believe it. They bought
Did anything they could from the show, huh?
They would buy anything, and we did have 2 coffins, and they were both sold.
Did you get a lot for those when you sold those?
I think it was at least several $100s a piece. Yeah.
That's cool. $700 a piece?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's great money. Let me ask you now,
Yeah.
first of all, we're going to get ready to roll in a clip Bob has brought, but about the Boris Karloff. The
Oh, yeah.
Boris Karloff clip you brought.
All right.
We're going to roll that in for a minute. So let's take a break and let's roll this clip real quick. Five, four, three. Well, Bob, that's an impressive interview with Boris Karloff. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. That, first of all, it was done in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And I believe it was in the early 70s.
Wow. Is it before he died? Roughly.
Yeah.
Close.
And the air there that day and the humidity, and I mean, it was, you can't tell by the interview, but we were there interviewing other people. The fellow who did the interview worked for the same channel that I did. His name is Harry Martin, out of Sacramento. And we had interviewed a number of people that day, most of them in air-conditioned studios and things like that.
Right.
And the guy who was taking us around, the rep from the studio there, he said, By the way, would you like to interview Boris Karloff?
Oh man, dream come
So,
true to all you horror fans out
Yeah,
there.
we jumped at that, and here they wheeled him out in a wheelchair, and Harry Martin does the interview with him, and it was done on the set of the Virginian, an old television series, and also a movie years ago that Karloff was in.
No kidding.
Yeah. And but just by coincidence, he
was there.
He was there, yeah. And so that remark that Mr. Martin makes to Boris about the Virginian there, that might have puzzled some people there.
It looked like Boris had a hard time breathing in that clip.
Yeah, he was a very ill man. In fact, that was the last known interview with him.
Wow.
Because about, I would say, anywhere from 7 to 10 days he was gone.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So he died like a week after this last interview was shot, folks.
Yeah.
Incidentally, you get a chance to see it because, like I said, the clip we just rolled is probably the last interview ever done of Boris Karloff.
That's right, yeah.
Let me ask you this. Now, through the years, your show has been done differently. The opens to your shows.
Right.
You used, what, 3 different opens? Is that correct?
Yeah, we would mix it up.
You mix it up in
Yeah,
different ways. Did you put those opens together, or were they done specially by somebody?
No, I had a fellow named Bob Shaw who was behind the scenes, who knew more about horror and science fiction films and movies in general.
Right.
I mean, he could tell you a guy in the Babe Ruth story. He knew the people in the crowd there.
Okay.
You know? Oh, he was unbelievable.
He did a good job on those.
Oh, yeah.
They're really good. We're going to
Yeah.
roll a couple of those in a couple minutes, folks. You get to see some
He
of
was
those opens.
he was a film editor at the station.
Wow.
And he had access to all the trailers. And
just put them together.
Yeah. And every once in a while we would change it. And,
He did a nice job.
Yeah.
He did a
first
really
class.
nice job. Let me ask you, have you ever met Bela Lugosi or by chance, or have you ever met any, like Lon Chaney? Have you ever had any of those guys in your
No, both of those fellows died long before the show started, yeah. But the people we did have on were Bela Lugosi's son used to come down about once a year.
Bela Lugosi Jr.
Yeah, yeah. And he makes appearances at conventions around the country.
Oh, really?
Also, Boris Karloff's daughter.
Sarah Karloff.
Yeah, she wrote a book about her father, and she came on the show.
Oh, wow.
And she makes appearances throughout the country, really.
Now, let me ask you this. You retired in 1980.
Right.
Now, were any of your programs saved on tapes for fans to view nowadays?
To my knowledge, when I left the station there, I really didn't have anything.
Okay.
And in those years, we used the 2-inch videotape.
Quad videotape at that
And
time.
basically, once the show was put on tape and the show was over, that was erased to make room for the new show.
Big problem in broadcasting,
Yeah.
folks. They got to make room and reuse videotape.
Yeah.
We know how that feels.
Yeah. So recently, one of the stations in the Bay Area had a retrospect about me, and they asked if I had any footage or tapes or anything on there. And I really didn't have much, but my old friend, the guy I told you about, who knows everything about everything, he works there, and he scouted around the building, and somewhere in the basement in an archive were some of these big 2-inchers,
2-inch reels?
10 and a half hours worth of my shows.
Oh man, what a
Now
treasure
it's-
trove of rock
It's
there.
curious why they were down there because, first of all, they were always erased. So how did somebody?
There might have been the tail end of the stuff you did, and they never erased it, and they just put them away. That's my best guess.
Yeah, but they'd be. I would think they'd be looking for that tape next week.
Maybe they switched formats right away and didn't know what to do
I don't
with
know what happened, but it was, and those have all been put on VHS now. So.
Yeah, he does have them on VHS. If you guys would like to check out my website, which is now on the bottom of the screen, if you'd like to go into my website, go into the horror host page, pull it up, look up Bob Wilkins, and when you go into that, you'll go into his website, and he offers those videotapes for sale if you'd like to see some video footage of Bob Wilkins' show. So come into our site, and you can jump into the horror host page, and you'll be able to get some stuff, some memorabilia Bob has for sale, including the book, which is also on that website. Bob, was any, let me ask you this, the audio and things that was used on your show, was any of that stuff saved, or did anybody keep that, for, like the Haunted House soundtracks, special soundtracks you might have used on your show, was any of that kept at all?
I think the only thing that I have in my collection is on a cassette was we had a door that I opened to come through, and it was that squeaky long,
Squeak.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That may still be around,
That's very cool.
and
Wow.
so that's about it.
Have you ever had any other horror host on your show, or have you ever interviewed any other horror hosts from around the country at all?
No,
Yourself?
actually, when I there was several horror movie hosts when I started in San Francisco, and for some reason they came over and wanted my job.
Did they really?
Well, for some reason the other stations after a while just got out of the business, and I think it was because we really locked up all the movie packages.
Okay. Hey,
And-
Bob, I tell
yeah.
you what,
Yeah.
we'll get ready to roll your opening of one of your shows. Would you want to look at the camera and say, "Welcome to Creature Features," and let's roll this clip, please?
Okay, welcome to Creature Features.
The opening of your show.
Yep, welcome Hammond, Indiana, and
Let's roll it.
the folks in Calumet City.
All right, 5, 4, 3.
Okay, I'm going to introduce some footage that I did many, many years ago, and I hope you get a few laughs out of it.
4, 3. All one. 5, 4, 3.
Boy, I wonder what they thought of that open. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That was Bob Wilkins' Creature Feature open to his show from around 1975, right? 76.
Yep.
Now, you used that one for what? How many years did you use that open?
Oh, it's hard to say. We rotated them.
Okay.
You know, we might let it run a couple months and then put on another one, and then fans would write in. They'd wanted the old one back.
They wanted the old one or they wanted the new one,
Yeah,
whichever one they
yeah,
could use.
but we had fun with it. But again,
good.
Bob Shaw did those, and he
Bob
did,
Shaw.
did a great job.
Did a nice job on those. In fact, you know, I'd like to tell you, we here at Graveyard Theater are always versatile, we're always changing things, and the viewers of our show know this. And that's where it's at, improvisation. You got to improvise once in a
Yep,
while to make
yep.
the show more interesting. Let me ask you, now, you said you did a lot of interviews with the people from Star Trek.
Yeah.
What was George Takei like?
He is probably the most articulate guy,
Okay.
and he would not only talk about Star Trek, but you could ask him anything, and he had
Wow.
a very solid opinion about things. And we did a Star Trek special, an hour special, that
Wow.
he thought was just the best thing he had ever.
Ever saw, huh?
Yeah, and we ran that on the station in prime time, and I hosted it, and it was the top show that night, up against all the network
What
things.
show, what station was that on at that time?
That was on Channel 2 in the Bay Area.
In the Bay Area?
Yeah, which is a Fox station now.
Fox station now?
Yeah, an independent.
Now, George Takei, now were all the actors of Star Trek you interviewed, were they all pretty much the same? Or who was the most wackiest out of the Star Trek actors that you thought was kind of wacky?
They were all pretty level. I would say that George was one of my favorites. Shatner was very good once he warmed up. Nimoy was excellent, and we talked about his early career and everything, and he actually flies airplanes. So one time I met him at an airport where he flew in for the interview, and we did the interview, and
He flew in for the interview and then he just took off?
yeah, he took off, and we
Oh, man.
and we started with him landing and taking off.
Oh,
It was very
that's
nicely done.
terrific.
Yeah.
Boy, so you're, as far as popularity, they all pretty well know who you are, so they always want to come back when they get a chance to.
Well, I think so. When they're in the Bay Area, like some of them had written books, like "I Am Not Spock." That was
In
one.
fact, I've seen that in the
Yeah.
70s. I remember
Yeah,
that book.
and he was promoting the book, but he was willing to talk about anything. And then they all came on. Before the movie was made, there was some doubt whether they were going to make it or not, and they would come on, and they were always in town for conventions, big conventions. There were like 10,000 people would show up.
Now, the Star Trek motion picture, #1.
Yeah.
Wasn't it, I believe I read somewhere that the original script was rejected because they wanted to write another one. They didn't like the original script.
That's right, the first one.
The first script they didn't like, so they came up with the one with the, I believe was the satellite, you know, in the first movie where the satellite ends up being this big computer
Yeah.
that they go to. And
Well, they pretty much knew. Roddenberry wrote the first one, and you know, Hollywood doesn't necessarily like a television guy writing.
a script.
Yeah, and I don't know how much there was between the second script and the first one, but
Have you ever had anybody in your show from Lost in Space?
no,
You never had.
just the program director.
You never had like Billy Mooney or any of those guys.
No, no.
Oh wow! So you've had Spock, and you see, you've had Spock, you had George Takei, Michelle Nichols. What was she like?
She's a very pretty woman and very articulate. All of them are really good speakers.
So you had a great time with the Star Trek. Now you said you also interviewed the cast of Star Wars.
Right.
Now what were they like?
Well,
Mark Hamill, what was he like?
Mark Hamill was really articulate, and so was Carrie Fisher. The guy that surprised me was Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, it is so, and he's changed a little bit, but not
Why?
much. I mean, he doesn't know what to say.
No kidding.
And he will tell you that off camera. He's nervous.
No kidding.
He's much shorter in person than when you see him.
How would he be nervous on camera when he acts on camera?
Well,
That's kinda
but he
strange.
can do that. But one-on-one and talking, and you know, I thought he was just kidding me. But all we talked about was that he bought a new sport coat as a
Right.
result of Star Wars.
No kidding.
Yeah, but you know, and I thought, well, maybe it's me. I asked him the wrong question, but there were maybe 5 or 6 of us who would wait in line and get each person.
Right.
And they said the same thing. And then later I read that he really has a difficult time, but he's overcome a lot of it through the years.
Let me ask you, now the robots, R2-D2 and C-3PO, I believe,
Yeah.
if I'm right. Now, R2-D2 was played by a short midget, right? Who was that actor that played that in that robot?
Well, but yeah, I used to know all the trivia
remember?
answers, yeah.
But did you ever interview him?
No,
You
no,
didn't.
no.
How about C-3PO?
No.
You've interviewed him?
No,
Now, you talk about Star Wars, Hardware Wars, the guy that made that movie.
Yeah.
Now, what was his name? 'Cause I believe-
Ernie Faselius.
Basilius.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of that? I know he was kind of a nice guy. Now, you had him on one of your tapes. I didn't
Yeah.
quite catch the whole interview. Can you explain to us about that guy and what he was about?
Well, he made a satire on Star Wars and called it Hardware Wars.
Okay.
Where if you haven't seen the film,
I haven't seen the film. Believe it or not, that's one movie I have not actually watched.
Well, it's only about 20 minutes long, but it is very, very creative and very funny.
Somebody said it's real funny. I know that.
Yeah. And I did an interview with him where he showed all the products that he had made for this film before the film comes out.
Really?
And he is, in a way, a comedian himself. But visually, he is extremely creative.
How about, let's put it this way. How about, all the makeup artists in Hollywood. You got Harryhausen, Rick Baker, you've got, well, my friend Doug Goyne, who's my makeup artist here on Graveyard Theater. You can put him in the same category.
Yeah.
He's very good. How many of them have you met, and have you ever did like an interview where they do in their shops or anything like that? Of any of these
No,
guys?
I never really got into that area. Normally, when we flew to Hollywood, there were certain people lined up. They were promoting a movie, and they wanted us to interview them. And a friend of mine did early on got the Planet of the Apes people who did the makeup on that.
I believe you had George Romero from Night of the Living Dead was on your show.
That's right.
What was George Romero like?
Well, that was one of the favorite films that we played. The fans wanted to see that.
Us too.
Yeah, yeah. And so when he came out with Night of the Living Dead 2, or actually it was another movie he had made, he came to promote that. But we had a contest with people writing in questions about the original film.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah.
How did that contest go?
Oh, it went great, and he answered all the questions, and
Oh, wow.
yeah. Unfortunately, that first film everyone,
Remembers.
it made the promise of his career, but I don't think it's ever materialized.
It's strange that he never copyrighted that movie because it's like a cult classic. The guy would be a multi-billionaire if he would have copyrighted that movie, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He said he didn't because they just made it for fun. He really didn't do it to get all the recognition that the film actually ended up getting.
He used to, like, he would point out that guy coming out of there, that ghoul, that's my dad, and that's our cousin.
Yeah, exactly.
And he used all the town people. And
What about the movie that Romero did, Dawn of the Dead?
yeah,
That was a good movie.
yeah,
Good
but
movie,
it never matched the other one, the original one.
Now, did you have any of those actors from Dawn of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead on your show? Besides Romero?
No.
You didn't?
They're, first of all, they weren't stars.
Okay.
You know.
They were just filming actors.
Yeah,
Okay.
there were townspeople and his friend, and it wasn't a movie that had a star, I don't think.
Did you ever do any, on your show, I know you had a lot of people come on and answer questions in advance. Now, I believe you had a Halloween special where you had all these little brats running around in their Halloween outfits. How was that show? Was that really kind of a real difficult show that day?
Well, it really wasn't. It was a couple of them were my kids and their friends. And
Oh, really?
what we do is have a Woolworths would give us costumes every Halloween.
Right.
And we would show what the latest stuff was.
The Bionic Woman, the
Yeah.
$6 million man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that clip, incidentally. That
Yeah.
was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Did Mr. Ackerman ever tell you, I mean, have you ever been to the Acker Mansion in California? There you go.
No, he has invited me down there, but I never took advantage of it.
Oh, I mean, I would love to go. I mean, you should take advantage of that offer because the Ackerman Mansion, in case you guys don't know, Forrest J. Ackerman has probably the biggest horror memorabilia prop collection in the world.
Yeah.
And he's an old man now, and he's getting ready, probably soon he might die, but when he does die, he's having a problem of who's going to take over his museum. It was originally offered to the Queen Mary, and they rejected it. He even offered it to the town of California, and they rejected it. So who knows where that incredible collection by Forrest J. Ackerman is going to end up.
But when he would come on the show, he would show Bela Lugosi's
the ring.
ring,
Yeah, it
and
was
maybe
really cool.
a Boris Karloff's watch. I mean,
He's a big collector.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He had Boris Karloff's ring from The Mummy, the little scarab. He had that ring that he found in a pawn shop. So it ended up in a pawn shop.
And he wore a black cape that Bella had, and
Oh, wow.
when I first started the show, I would get a Christmas card every year from Mrs. Bela Lugosi.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Okay,
Did
so-
you really?
And I thought, well, this is a hoax, you know, somebody.
Somebody's tricking you.
But one year there was a letter in there that she said, I know you doubt that I'm Mrs. Bela Lugosi, but I was his last wife, and Bella did marry the nurse in the hospital there on the deathbed, and she said to prove it, if you want to come over, I will show you. Bela did a famous painting of a woman.
I heard about that.
Yeah,
The painting he did,
she had that for sale, and she had a lot of his memorabilia for sale.
No kidding.
But I never did get over there, and she moved to Hawaii, and that was it.
Now, Mr. Ackerman, I believe, purchased a lot of memorabilia of Bela Lugosi's.
Right.
The cape, some movie scripts. I believe he owns the original Dracula book, one of the original ones, the original Frankenstein book from 18-something, from Bram Stoker.
Stroker.
And also he's got a lot of movie props of Bela Lugosi, because he met Bela Lugosi in his 70s, in his last part of his life. So he only knew Bela Lugosi for a few years shortly before he died. Now, you know, if you know these things, sometimes, like with Forrest J. Ackerman, he's just a very eccentric collector, but he's a nice guy. I think I wish I met him once at the Resin Heads convention here in Chicago.
Oh, really?
He signed my record and my book and stuff like that. He's a very cordial man.
Very.
It was a real thrill for me. I was really happy to meet him. And like I say now, Bob, it's a real thrill to meet you, because I'm actually getting to meet somebody from another show similar to what we do. But he's been retired since 1980, but it's a real pleasure having you.
Well, it's great to be invited back to your hometown, and
Oh
and
yeah,
be
it
on-
must be a real thrill for you. It's like, wow, there's somebody doing this in my hometown, and I've been doing it in California all these
My
years.
gosh.
So what do you think of Lon Chaney? Have you ever had an interview with him?
Lon Chaney was actually, when I moved to Sacramento, Lon Chaney was still alive in a real remote area right outside Sacramento.
Right.
But we never could get him to I think he was in poor health or didn't want to.
I know he was a drinker.
Wanted
so
to
he
be
was a
left
big
alone.
alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh, one of the greatest interviews I had was with John Carradine.
Oh, you're kidding.
That
Wow.
he had been in so many movies,
Oh.
and he could tell you the whole cast and what
Oh.
year.
It's
And
incredible.
he was just wonderful.
He's been in a lot of the classic horror movies from Universal,
Yeah.
folks. Quite
Yeah.
a few of them.
Yep.
But that is an incredible interview to have him.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
have you ever interviewed John Astin or the guy that played the Riddler on Batman? I can't think of his name. Any of those guys?
No. No.
So you ever interviewed anybody from them? How about have you ever interviewed anybody from the Munsters, the TV show The Munsters?
No, we didn't get into that one. One interview was one of the worst interviews of all time. Was the
one was that?
late Belushi.
Oh, John Belushi.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
interviewed him.
Yeah.
No
yeah,
kidding.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But he was just a complete.
Was he really off the wall?
He didn't want to be there.
He didn't want to.
This
be
was Animal House. They were promoting Animal.
Oh, the movie Animal House.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what movie that is.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to come and do the interview.
Oh, he was just.
Oh man.
You know, I had to edit the thing down to air it. And
No kidding.
He just was a nasty man.
So you do get stuff that sometimes you don't want to use because
Yeah.
of the fact.
But one out of 100. I mean, the other 99 would be very cordial and.
How many interviews you think you've done on your whole show?
Oh God, I don't
A
know.
couple hundred?
Oh, easily, yeah.
You
yeah.
think so? How about let's ask you this then. Now I know they recorded your show on quad 2-inch tape. Mm-hmm. Now, did you do the editing, or did you have to? What was your daily schedule of putting your show together? How did it work from editing the show, from going in, taping the shows? Give us like a rundown.
All
of
right,
your
we
daily
usually do
tape.
it on a Thursday or a Friday.
Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, and I like to do it early in the morning. That's I think best early in the morning.
Early in the morning.
And there was very little editing done.
Did you put the shows together yourself? Or
Yes.
did somebody else do it?
Well, we had a director,
Okay.
but I mean we would shoot it in segments. And we'd do an open, and if everything was fine, there was no need to do any editing.
Did you edit it together on one tape, or did your
One tape,
segments
yeah.
roll separately
One tape, and then you would put a board on it, cut two,
Yeah, cut three, cut four.
and we might have some information on a Star Trek festival coming up and give them the address and things like that. And if there was a mistake made on any of the cuts, we simply redid it. Yeah.
Okay, same
yeah.
that what we do here.
Yeah.
We do make mistakes, folks. Believe me.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Did now I know you worked for 3 stations in California. What station did you enjoy working the most for, and for what reason?
I think Channel 2 had the greatest production crew, Channel 2 in the Bay Area, and the others were not slouches, but 2 did an outstanding job and had a much bigger crew
To work with.
than some of the other stations.
Just like the crew out here in Graveyard Theater, these guys are the best on
Yeah.
putting the show together.
They're very good, very professional.
Very professional guys. They work real hard to get these shows out for you. Of course, we got a crew of 8 people here, and that type of stuff. Let me ask you now. You come back to visit here in Hammond every 2 years.
Just about, yeah.
Now I believe you used to work in the steel mill. Is that correct?
Yeah, when I got out of high school here,
Wow.
I worked at Inland Steel for about 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So was your desire ever to be a horror host? Did it just came by fluke, huh?
Yeah, I had no ambitions or intentions or even thought about it.
Now, John Stanley took over for 4 years after you left in 1980.
That's right.
Why did his show fail? Do you know?
Well, I don't think that it failed. Remember that I did it, God, it must have lasted 8, 9 years there.
9 years? Okay.
So when John came in, he did it for 4 more years, and he had a different style than I did.
Right.
But he was successful. But I think that Channel 2, the station he worked for and I worked for, the old Universal package
Right.
expired and they didn't renew it.
Oh, and then they just kind of let him go because they didn't renew it. Right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and the ratings maybe started to go down a little bit. You know, I don't
You
know.
really don't know.
I did not keep in touch with that, but you know, television really eats up material, and a show can be a #1 show one year, and then all of a sudden start to go down. And,
I tell you what, we're going to take a break real quick here, and we're going to roll some more creature feature clips for you folks to see of Bob Wilkins' show. So let's get to those clips.
All right. 4, 3.
Graveyard Theater, cut in number 3.
5, 4, 3.
Well, I guess we're back. Hey, Bob, I mean, you got some great stuff from your show. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the production, maybe of a weekly schedule that you might have that you do besides taping? Is there anything more involved with it?
yeah, it wasn't. You know, I just didn't sit down and everything happened.
Right.
The guests are there and so forth.
Right.
And first of all, I answered all the fan mail, and many times they'd bring in bags of stuff. You know.
Bags of mail you couldn't answer in 1 week.
Yeah, that was a big job. And I really worked for the television stations as a private contractor.
Right.
They gave me a desk and so forth, so I could come in at night or day, or I didn't have a schedule. The only schedule I had was that every Friday at a certain time we would tape the show for Saturday. And then early on, the Saturday show was so successful. For 2 years, we did a Friday night show and a Saturday night show.
Yeah, you did 2 shows at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. At 2 different stations. You'd go and do one at one, and then come back and do another on another, right?
Well, no, at the one station, they had a Friday night show and a Saturday night show.
Oh, okay. 2
Then
shows.
that other station just had the Saturday night one.
Oh, I see.
So I was doing 3 shows a week, and of course, they were different markets, so I could duplicate some of the things.
What happened to the cigar? Why don't you explain to your
Oh, I always,
Bob Wilkins fans out there?
Yeah.
He used to be with the big cigar all the time.
the cigar was a result of when I first started to do the show, and I was a little bit nervous.
Right.
One of the hardest things when you try to make the audience laugh is naturally you don't have an audience there.
Yeah, that's true.
And so if you can make the cameraman laugh, well, you know you're doing pretty
Doing
well.
a good job.
But sometimes they don't understand what you're talking
Right.
about. So I had I used it as a prop.
Right.
Hopefully, while people were laughing, I would smoke it
Right.
and things of that nature. And most of the people felt that at that particular time that I looked too young to smoke anyway, and they sort of got a kick out of it.
So you really when you left Creature Features in 1980, you kind of just like let it slide, but the memories are still there, and you still get a lot of questions and mail from people. You still get mail even today off his website.
Yeah.
He still gets a lot of mail, which is really good. So do you ever miss doing this? Do you ever miss being in front of the camera and entertaining these horror fanatics out there?
Well, television was a great. It was a two-edged sword. When we would take the family out to dinner or something, we had 2 children. Why, people are over at the table wanting autographs, and you're in the middle of the bowl of soup.
I had that experience myself
Yeah.
at a restaurant over here. Somebody came up to me
Yeah.
not too long ago, and I'm trying to eat, and they asked me for my autograph, and they knew
Yeah,
what it was.
yeah, it's really,
I know what it's like.
yeah.
Let me ask you, you want to look at the camera and just take a second here and tell everybody out there that you're Bob Wilkins and watch Graveyard Theater every Friday at 4 o'clock?
Oh, sure. This is Bob Wilkins, and I'm back in my old hometown. I might settle down here because Graveyard Theater is on back on its regular time.
4 o'clock in the afternoon.
4
on
o'clock in the
Fridays.
afternoons every Friday, and by golly, it's a show you. It's the price is right. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, Bob, we only have a few more minutes here. Maybe we can elaborate on some other questions before we have
Sure.
to break down. I know that we covered a lot of the guests that you had on your show. Is it possible that, if we ever came out to California, maybe we can do a location show with you and do something like that?
Oh, I
on
think so.
location?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think that would be kind of cool.
Yep.
And let's see, it's okay. Bob,
Yes.
I got the crew members here driving me crazy.
All right.
Crew members, do you guys have any questions for Bob Wilkins? Anybody?
They're asleep.
They're asleep. They got thumbs up, so I don't know what they're talking. He's the man. Oh, Bob Wilkins, you are the bomb.
Hey, let me just tell you this one last story. We got time? We got 1 minute?
No problem. We got time. Yeah, sure.
This is what I meant to. I get a call from this lady.
Okay.
She wants to be on the show, and I said, "Well, what are you going to tell the fans?" She said, "I have knitted a sweater for King Kong."
For King Kong?
Yeah. I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "How big is it?" She said, "It's about 15 feet across." And about, I think it was 20 feet down. Wow. I said, I got to see that, thinking that she was exaggerating.
Right.
She brought that sucker in on a coat hanger, a giant coat hanger.
Did she really?
And she got on the show because she made one.
Unreal.
Isn't that,
That's unique.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a few minutes here real quick. Okay, guys, here's our website, which is now on the bottom of the screen, Graveyard Theater's website. You go into that. You go into the Horror Host webpage. Okay, here's Bob Wilkins. Well, first of all, of course, as we talked about in the beginning of the show, this is his book. If you can see this, it's a scrapbook on creature features through the years when he did this show. Okay, and you can also go on into Bob Wilkins' webpage and look up if you'd like to get videotapes that he's got from surviving shows, which are also on this actual page. And you could order videotapes of his show, get this incredible, beautiful scrapbook with a lot of autographed pictures and all kinds of information about this incredible guy from Hammond, Indiana, Bob Wilkins, who did creature features. So you guys may want to pick up these things. They're really cool. Also, you can come into the website and you can email me, DeMonica, anybody on the crew, and maybe tell us about what you thought of this show. We are going to be getting a lot more special guests coming in, like Bob, other hosts from different cities and towns, and do interviews with you. But this was a very informative interview with Bob. It's been a real joy and pleasure now he's in town to come on Graveyard Theater. And soon, who knows, we may be in other areas, and a lot of people like Bob and stuff. We have a lot of people that think like him. Bob, it's been a real pleasure having you here on our show.
Pleasure's mine. You got a great crew here.
Thank you. I mean, these guys would like to thank you very much for being in town and coming on our show. And like I said,
thank you, Bob.
If you ever get a chance out in California to talk about us and tell people you used to work with, maybe we can get syndicated in other areas.
I'd be happy to.
We would love to do something with you later on.
And it's a wonderful set.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you like what we're doing here.
First class.
Well, I'm Laszlo from the TV show Graveyard Theater. This is my special guest, Bob Wilkins from Sacramento, California, and we'd like to say we'll be scaring you, so we'll see you next week. Very nice. We covered a lot. We covered a lot in an hour.
Yeah, now I remember one.
Good show, you guys. Real good job.
Was Adam's family? Did you?
I asked him about those.
No, I never had the chance. Let's see, where?
Hey, Bob,
I'm underneath you.
We're going to ask you, we go across this bar and have a few beers after we're done.
I don't drink anymore, thanks.
Would you like to sit and have a pop with us?
I'm going to get home.
Oh,
Thanks.
No problem. It's been a really
Hey,
big
thanks
pleasure
for
having
asking.
you here.
Thanks for thinking of me.
I got some stuff to send you, and I'll be talking to you.
Do you have my address? I don't think it's in there.
Is it in the book?
I don't carry a card anymore. What do you need? I'll write something for you.
Why don't you write in my...
Gonna get your autograph.
Yeah. Why you sign my book? Here, guys. Why don't you give him something to autograph? You guys want your phone number or whatever?
I gave you
Right out.
mine.
You got a card?
Yeah, just go ahead and sign it.
Look at that, man.
I remember that because
And what's your name?
Charles.
Charles.
What?
Hey, you, big blowhard. Ah!
That's what I don't know as much about you as Rick does, but.
Oh, I seen the film.
Yeah,
You showed me a lot of skits.
Yeah, funny looking.
That you
Ah, I'll paint it
Yeah,
up.
we had fun with sketching.
No, what we forgot to mention if you met
You did good.
Vincent Price.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You never interviewed him.
just sitting there.
Well, just
Pardon?
Vincent Price.
looking the way you
Have
do.
you ever interviewed him?
No, I met him, but he wasn't giving an interview. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You gonna wear that the rest of the night?
Yeah, it was a real good show.
Yeah, it was.
Great. Wow, this was real.
You know, when you're holding up the book, they would get a little square right on the book as you two were.
It
Right.
looked good on camera when I was looking at
Didn't
it.
it look
Yeah, it looked
good?
real good, yeah.
Sure. I just figured out how to do that tonight.
It looks really good.
I was experimenting with it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guy want the rod?
Ron? Okay, Ron.
Some of the stuff off. Here, do me a favor.
Ryan, you
We'll
should
throw
be
these things,
filming
you put them in
this.
the box over
Here,
there.
Paul, we'll.
If I don't make it.
Oh, here. That looks like. Pull that in that box.
Here.
Oh, here.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
Guys,
do it again.
guys, get your autographs real quick before Bob leaves. Jennifer, anybody? And if you want to get these books, they are available on those sites if you want to purchase
How
them.
much are those books?
$11.95 plus $4 or something.
Yeah, this goes to the next box.
Yeah, because I like that.
Here's, don't forget this.
Take this out of the way.
Yeah, that's gotta go with. Don't throw that in this man. Mr. Wilkins, it was a great pleasure meeting you. Like I said,
Thank you. Thank you.
really made a big, very much a pleasure.
Thanks for putting all this together. Glad you enjoyed yourself. Maybe we'll get some pictures, some.
You like our set?
Great show. Appreciate it. And we're gonna
Better now. No.
You need an address. You want me to come by with you tomorrow when we're together and you can.
Well, you might miss me.
Okay.
I'll give, this is my address in Reno, okay?
Oh, this one I do have.
You do?
Yeah, off your website.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I have it off that
Looks pretty
site.
scared of makeup on
If
it.
you got
Get that sort of zombie
anything, give
thing
me a
going.
call if you got any more questions.
Sure, I'll have a few more questions. I'll call you. All right, thanks.
That's it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Rick, is this yours? How would you throw this in there?
No, oh, is that in that box? No, that goes in my box. No, that goes in my.
Oh,